Hey guys, it's ShanChan. Today we're going to make that long-awaited particle video. If we're going to learn about particles, then we need some example sentences because that's what particles do, is they connect different parts of the sentence and tell us how words in the sentence relate to each other. So if we're going to have example sentences, there's going to be some vocab that you're going to have to learn. You will note that for the purpose of this lesson, we are using Romanji. I could use hiragana, and I did teach you hiragana, but we're not going to be using hiragana today because Romanji will allow us to learn faster and get this concept of the particles faster. However, everything that we learned today, all the sentences, you could then practice translating in hiragana in your own free time. The first words are very simple pronouns that everybody learns right off the bat, and that's I and you. Now there's several ways to say I and you in Japanese depending on the level of politeness that you want to use. But if you're talking to people, if it's your friends with, family, stuff like that, on a normal everyday basis, you're probably going to use watashi for I and anata for you. However, if you were watching anime with a bunch of guys on it, like Attack on Titan or something like that, you would notice that most of the males are using ore for I and omae for you. Also, if you've been around Japanese things a while, then, or even for a short time, you've probably figured out that they use honorifics at the end of people's names. You've probably heard san, which is an honorific that's just a general honorific. You can use it when you don't know what honorific to use with someone. Sama, you've probably heard. It's used with like kings and gods and people of very high status. But the two that we're going to mainly be using for sentences today are kun, which basically means the boy, and chan, which basically means the girl. We're also going to be using the words hon, which means book, and kurama, which means car, hana, which means flower, and sato, which, if you watch Naruto, you should know means village. They use it a lot in that particular anime. Yatsu. Yatsu means that specific guy. Demo, which means but. It's the more casual but. There's a polite version as well. Doko. Doko means where. Kagi. Kagi is keys. And either you will see Nihon or Nippon. Both of those mean Japan. More official, polite, formal, I don't know how to, business related stuff, you'll see Nippon. But if you are just talking with your friends and stuff, you're probably going to say Nihon. And then there's this, gore. And then there's that, sore. Pretty, kirana. Ikuru means to live.
Not ikuru, but ikiru.
Ikitai. Ikitai means to want to go. And the next word is the word that means like. In some animes you will hear like young girls or people trying to be cute and they'll say suki, suki, suki. But in normal everyday conversation you'll probably hear it pronounced ski. Also, if you've watched Naruto, you should know this one. It used to be part of Naruto's catchphrase early on in the anime. Shinjiru. Shinjiru means believe. Naruto's phrase that he said all the time in the beginning of the show was believe it. Dekinai. Dekinai means cannot do. Shinu. Shinu is used a lot in anime. It means to die. Tabemasu. Tabemasu is in polite form, but it's a verb that means to eat. Des. Looks like desu, but it's pronounced des. It means is, are, to be. Nomimasu, another polite form verb that means to drink. And wakaru, it means to understand. So those are some of the words that we're going to be using today. So let's go ahead and get into the lesson. The first particle that we're going to be using today is wa. So wa is a topic marker. And wa is heavily used when you're learning Japanese. However, there's a lot of times when the topic of a sentence is implied, and you actually can drop wa. And wa is actually sometimes wrote in sentences as ha, but it's still pronounced as wa, which I don't really understand, but this is our first particle. Let's look at our example sentence. Okay, so if you remember, watashi is the word for I, and wa marks the topic of the sentence. So it's like you're saying about, and it always marks the word in front of it. So you're saying about I, and then my name. And then if you remember, des is the verb for is, are, or to be. So, is. So basically you're saying, about I, Shanity is. Or, I am Shanity. So, this is a very useful sentence because now you can take my name out, put your name, and let's say your name is Chris. Watashi wa Chris desu. Okay? Don't put honorifics on your own name. You don't honor and flatter yourself. Okay? Just other people's names. Alright, let's move on to the next particle. The next particle that we're going to learn is no. And no is a possession marker. Okay, so this is how you use no. Let's go ahead and show you the difference between wa and no. This is watashi. Watashi wa versus watashi no. Watashi wa says about I. Watashi no says that whatever, well, I shouldn't put the equal sign there, that whatever comes here belongs to this person. So you can think of no almost as an apostrophe S. Okay? So if this means I, what is I apostrophe S? Well, it's my. My what? My anything. My book. Watashi no hon. My book. So, this is the difference between no and wa. Wa marks the topic. No shows the possession of something. The word before it will be who it belongs to, and the word after it will be what it is that belongs to them. Okay, if you wanted to make this your instead of my, you could take out watashi and put anata, and then the I would become a you, and you apostrophe S would be your. So, watashi no is my, and anata no is your. Alright. Let's do an example sentence real quick. Here's our example sentence for no. Sore wa watashi no hon desu. So let's start translating. Sore means that. Wa means about. Watashi, I. But because it is watashi no, it's actually my. And then hon means book. And the last word is desu, which means is. So, about that, my book is, or that is my book. Sore wa watashi no hon desu. So you just break everything down real simple. Alright. Let's go to our next particle, which is going to be ga. So our next particle is ga. Ga is a subject marker. And ga marks a subject, whereas wa marks a topic. And if you're like me, at first you didn't know what the heck the difference was. So let's look at our first example sentence, and maybe that'll become a little bit more clear. If you look at this sentence, there is no wa. There is no topic specified. So in Japanese, if I am talking to you, I can just say, like carrots? And you know that I'm talking to you. You understand that the subject of my question is you. So I don't have to say anata wa in front of it. I just need to say, like carrots? And if I go, believe, you can tell that since I am looking up and I'm not looking at anybody, not talking to anybody, that I'm going, I believe, I believe. Whereas if I look at you and go, believe, then you know that I'm shaking you, begging you to believe, and you are now the topic of the sentence. So they just use implied pronouns a lot more than we do. So in our first sentence, anime ga suki desu, what we are saying is anime like is. And since I'm talking and I'm not asking a question, I'm just talking, you assume that I is the topic. So this little I right here is implied. So this suki, ski thing, this means like, and this is or do. You can kind of think of it as do right here. So I anime like do. Okay? The anime right here, this is your subject. And it is marked by the particle ga. It is telling you what is receiving the action of the verb. The verb in this sentence is like. So what is receiving liking? Oh, well, anime is receiving liking. This is only used when your verb is a non-physical verb. Liking something is not something you physically do. Believing is not something you physically do. It is like a mental thought process, non-physical, emotional type verb. But it is a verb. So you only use this ga to indicate what's receiving the action of the verb if the verb is that type of verb. Let's look at the other sentence. Demo yatsu ga shinjiru. Demo means but. Yatsu means that specific guy. So to emphasize that we mean a specific one, I'm just going to underline that. That guy, and then this would be believes. Okay? But that guy believes. Again, believe is our verb, and it is a non-physical verb. What receives the action of this verb? That guy does. That guy is the one that believes. So this is how you use the particle ga. Now we're going to learn the particle that works the same way, but that you use for physical verbs. O. So once again, it is a subject marker. Nomimasu. Nomimasu means to drink. Drinking is a physical thing. You have a physical glass that you put up to your mouth and drink. Biru is just a borrowed word that means beer.